seruan wawasan negara unggul di mata dunia. Langkah seiring mengejar cita di hari muka kan terus maju bersama menuju cahaya ketulusan jiwa, semangat berusaha unggul di mata dunia. Ke puncak menara dituju, keunggulan cita yang luhur, melangkah kita bersama, bersatu, bersinar permata negara, dikagumi serata dunia, selamanya akan gemilang di persada dunia multimedia. Langkah seiring mengejar cita di hari muka kan terus maju bersama menuju cahaya ketulusan jiwa, semangat berusaha unggul di mata dunia. Ke puncak menara dituju, keunggulan cita yang luhur, melangkah kita bersama, bersatu, bersinar permata negara, dikagumi serata dunia, selamanya dan gemilang di persada dunia multimedia. Terunggu di mata dunia.
Ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to the Honorable Speaker of the Day, Yang Amat Berbahagia, Tun Dato Seri Zaki Tun Asmi, the Chancellor of Multimedia University and Adjunct Professor of the Faculty of Law. And our distinguished guest, Yang Berbahagia, Professor Dato Dr. Masliha Muhammad Suud, President of Multimedia University Ismail, Vice President of Finance and Business Ventures, Ms. Zamri Pawance, Vice President of Strategic Marketing, Admission and Recruitment, Dr. Kwek Chi Ying, the Dean of Faculty of Law, respected lecturers and beloved participants. Welcome to the webinar on virtual hearing during the pandemic. I, Pavik Koren, will be your web MC for this webinar on this wonderful morning. Ladies and gentlemen, before we begin, we would like to kindly remind all participants to take note of the etiquette and decorum that should be observed throughout the event. Firstly, participants are required to mute their microphones and switch off their cameras throughout the session, unless directed to do otherwise during the Q&A session. Secondly, participants are welcome to ask any questions that they may have for our distinguished speaker through the link provided in the Facebook comment section. For participants who are in the Google Meet, you are eligible to ask questions through the chat box or even by raising hands during the Q&A session. Thirdly, please phrase your questions in an appropriate manner and avoid sensitive topics. Ladies and gentlemen, with that being said, to start off the webinar, we would like to call upon the Dean of Faculty of Law, Dr. Kwek Chi Ying, to give an opening speech. Please welcome Dr. Kwek Chi Ying.
A very good morning to Yang Amat Bahagia, Tun Datuk Sri Zaki Tun Asmi, the Chancellor of MMU and Adjunct Professor of the Faculty of Law, MMU. Professor Dato Dr. Masliham Muhammad Suud, President of MMU. Ms. Nur Adni Ismail, Vice President, Finance and Business Ventures. Mr. Zamri Pawanchi, Vice President, Strategic Marketing, Admission and Recruitment. My respected colleagues and students, I'd like to welcome and thank our Chancellor and Adjunct Professor, Yang Amat Bahagia Tun Datuk Sri Zaki, the honourable guests, all the staff and students of the Faculty of Law, and our friends at the Facebook Live there for making time to attend this webinar despite your busy schedules. This is the annual event or activity which we have with Tun as our Adjunct Professor and the Chancellor of MMU. Today, Yang Amat Bahagia Tun Datuk Sri Zaki Tun Asmi will speak to us on virtual hearing during the pandemic. This is a timely topic as virtual hearings and even online trials have become the new norm in this pandemic. To ensure that administration of justice is not delayed or denied, I'm sure that everyone here will gain invaluable insights and knowledge from this webinar. So do enjoy this webinar. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Anybody else to speak? Yes.
Yes, Tun Zaki, allow me to introduce Tun Zaki. Thank you very much for the wonderful speech, Dr. Kwek Chi Ying. Ladies and gentlemen, before we begin, allow me to introduce to you our esteemed speaker for today, Yang Amat Berbahagia, Tun Dato Seri Zaki Tun Asmi, the Chancellor of Multimedia University and Adjunct Professor of the Faculty of Law. The Honourable Tun Zaki Tun Asmi was born on September 12, 1945 in Alostar, Kedah. He had his early education at Sultan Abdul Hamid College, Alostar, Anderson School, Ipoh, and English College, Johor Bahru. He then read law in Lincoln's Inn, London, and obtained his Barrister at Law in 1969. Tun Zaki Tun Asmi comes from a family of lawyers. His father was the first in line of the Asmi lawyers. His deceased brother was next, which was followed by him. His second son and daughter-in-law are lawyers too. So is his wife, who happens to be a first-class student from the International Islamic University, Malaysia, and now a housewife. His father was the second Malay Chief Justice of Malaysia, then known as Lord President, from 1968 to 1974. After being in practice with an established law firm, he was invited to be elevated to the bench as the Federal Judge of Malaysia. Prior to being in practice, he was in the Malaysian Judicial and Legal Service for 15 years, joining as a magistrate, then later transferred to the Attorney General's chambers, where he held several positions until he resigned to go into practice. While in practice, he also sat on several public listed companies as a director as well as chairman or member of the board audit committees, amongst which he participated were Petronas, the national oil company which today has spread its wings throughout the world, Malaysian Airport Berhad, and SP Setia. Perhaps it was this management experience that the Chief Justice brought into judiciary to make it what it is today. After holding office as a federal judge for a few months, he was appointed as the President of the Court of Appeal, the second highest judicial office. On October 18, 2008, he was appointed to be the 12th Chief Justice of Malaysia. With the establishment of the Judicial Appointment Commission, he became the first chairman since February 16, 2009. Tun Zaki is known for his success in getting rid of age-old backlog problems faced by the Malaysian courts and assuring more than 90% of currently registered cases to be disposed within 9 months of registration. This is the fastest in any common law country. He did it within less than 3 years during his term of office as the 11th Chief Justice of Malaysia. Now, without further ado, let us invite Yang Amat Berbahagia, Tun Dato Seri Zaki Tun Asmi, to share his valuable insights in this session. Please welcome Tun Dato Seri Zaki Tun Asmi.
Thank you very much, Pabit. Are you a student or a staff?
A student, Tun.
Good. Well done. And thank you very much, Professor Quack. Not professor, I keep on calling you professor. Soon you'll be a professor, I think. Dr. Quack and Dato Mazliham, I'm so proud to see you here with us. I think there's nothing much you can hear from me, you know, Prof. I think you are way ahead of me. Nevertheless, I'm speaking something about law. So if you don't understand, you can always ask us what I'm talking about. Let me do a short introduction about the position of the way we are behaving now, the way we have to behave now. We talk about normal, new normal, and etc., you know. But now, when we talk about hearing in court, virtual hearing in court, we have to go back. Is somebody taking notes of what I'm saying, please? Because I'm just speaking off the cuff, you know, from my notes here. But I would be happy if later on I can have something note form for me for my record. So if you look into what is the meaning of justice, at the end of the day, how we deliver justice is the issue. You know, we were used to appearing in court in person. I used to carry baskets of books because we don't have photocopying machine at that time. We are carrying baskets of books to the courts. And whenever the federal court, or at that time Supreme Court or Court of Appeal was sitting, the clerk has to go and look for at least 3 or 4 copies of books, which they go around to the different law firms to borrow. So lawyers who submit, who wants to refer to the court, to the books, to the authorities, will have to circulate their list of authorities to their other part, their counterpart, as well as to the courts. And so, you know, the courtroom, whenever there is a hearing, the courtroom is full of books, each 3 copies or 4 copies, sometimes with 4 copies because we want to give to the registrar. Otherwise, it's just 3 copies. So before you start hearing the case, the other party knows what are the authorities you are going to refer to. What are the authorities you are going to refer to? They know. So it's like an open book. They may not know your argument, but they know your authorities. Then comes the way we start photocopying books, photocopying authorities, and photocopying submissions, preparing submissions in writing. Previously, the judge has to write in his own handwriting whatever you submit. And notes, evidence had to be typed. And because it has to be circulated to 5 parties at least, they have carbon copies to do that. And then we move to the photocopying. And then parties, because they can produce the authorities on the last day, on the hearing day itself, parties do not disclose the authorities to the other parties. And sometimes surprise the other parties with certain authorities. Okay, submission is okay. And then comes the question of, at that time, you are used to submitting in person. You look into the eyes of the judge. When you cross-examine, you look into the eyes of the witnesses. The judges can look into the eyes of the witnesses and determine the demeanor, they call it. But the judge who's hearing the case, I went through this experience. I used to cross-examine witnesses, and the judge is spending time writing notes on his book. Because if you refer to the Criminal Procedure Code, it says there, notes must be written in longhand, legible longhand handwriting. That was the law before. So, and then I had a case where parties agreed to do a recording of this hearing. They spent a lot of money. We have to pay something like 5,000 ringgit per day for the thing to be recorded on cassette tapes at that time. Cassette tape, and this company has 2 machines recording cassette tape simultaneously to record, so that if something breaks down, they have a second one, and then they go back and they transcribe. So at that hearing, the judge was Justice Ramli. I think he's retired now. He could watch the witnesses in person. I mean, directly. He was taking notes, but he doesn't have to write everything that the witness was saying. And then, because it is transcribed in detail, counsel was able to show that this particular witness was contravening, was saying different things 1 hour before or half an hour before. The result was that that party won the case. When I went to the court, I went to the court of appeal. Of course, I didn't know what happened to the case later on. All I heard is they won the case. But that experience brought me to introduce to the courts the recording system. We introduced the recording systems, I think, in 2009, I think, 2009 or 10, we got this recording system. Oh, everybody was complaining, were not happy. One lawyer made a press statement in Penang saying that, this judge was not doing his work, he was not listening, he was not saying the right thing. So we reproduced the recording to him and it was not just a voice recording, it was a video recording, and showed to him, said, look, are you saying the judge was not doing anything? So now, if you go to court now, every court in Malaysia, I think almost every court in Malaysia has a video recording of the hearing. The judge or the magistrate can concentrate on listening to what the witness says, concentrate on what the lawyer submits without having to write notes. The problem was when there is an appeal, then they have to transcribe the whole thing. But even before, the secretary has to transcribe. He or she has to type from the notebooks of the judge. But here, she can record on the... And cases were moving so much faster, something like 4 times faster than it was before. Now, if you talk about justice, is this better than before when the judge was writing? Or is this... Some lawyers don't like it because lawyers want to find the most, find ways of showing that his client was not properly judged, guilty and not guilty, fair or not fair, win the case or not win the case, and things like that. Nevertheless, what I'm trying to say from that is, what is the meaning of justice was moving from one type to the other. Today, we've gone one step further. Hearings are done online. The judge doesn't see the witness. The judge, can see on video, but not in person the parties. I hear cases in Dubai almost every month. And there's one judge in England. There's one judge in Australia. I'm sitting in Kuala Lumpur. The registry is in Dubai. 4 different companies and 4 different time zones. If I sit with a judge from Sydney, he is 3 hours faster. That means he is now 1 p.m. or almost 1 p.m. in Sydney. And then we have here, and I have some judges in Perth, who is fortunately the same time as Malaysia, and Dubai. Dubai is 4 hours behind, so they're 6 a.m. now. And you go to England, there are something 3 a.m. in the morning. So if they're hearing, I cannot. If a judge in England is involved, I cannot. He start hearing the case until 3 p.m., which is 8 a.m. their time. In summer, in winter is 8 hours. So I have to start at the 2 or 3. But then the judge in Sydney is already 5 or 6 p.m. You know what I mean? So, and the council, the lead counsel sometimes is in England. His assistant is in Dubai. And he's giving instruction to his how to change the page on the screen. Now, is that justice? Somebody can come say, that's not justice. Unless the parties appear in front of you, how can they be? That is what virtual hearing is. So, and very important factor also. The judge is sitting outside the jurisdiction of Dubai Financial Center. So we had to pass a law to say that irrespective of where the judge sits, he is deemed to be sitting in Dubai. And the registrar will make an announcement at the beginning of each hearing that deemed to be sitting in Dubai, and whatever decision made by the court will be recorded by the registrar, and the registrar will issue the order as if it comes from Dubai. We hear only civil cases in Dubai, Dubai Financial Center Courts, Dubai Financial Center Courts, that one. See, there. Okay, that's the flag, and that's the logo for the financial center. We hear only commercial cases. We don't hear criminal cases. Fortunately, because it's civil, we go on the basis as if you don't object, then it's okay. You can object if you want to. You can object, but nobody has objected. And talking about objection, by the way, I just heard from a seminar last week on jurisdiction also, that the LCIA is London Chamber of International Arbitration in England. There's a ruling inserted in the rules that parties cannot object to cases being heard online or virtually. You cannot object. You have to go ahead with it. So, and if you go through a number of decisions, comments by different judges in Malaysia as well as in the UK, I think, Doctor, you have those cases, isn't it, Doctor? Dr. Kwek?
Yes.
If you want, you can project the cases where the courts are not going to hear about this. I'm going to object. They don't allow that at all. In Malaysia, though, judges are more flexible. If they think the matter is something complicated and the parties should be heard in person, they are more inclined to do so. But yesterday, Parliament was talking about amending the rules that if any MP has a case in court, he will not be allowed to sit in Parliament on that day. He has to appear in court. So the trend is now to not allow parties to take advantage of the COVID situation to avoid hearing live, to avoid or to delay their cases being heard, or to avoid going to court. And this is everywhere. And then, while I'm on this subject also, I want to touch on cross legal culture. I sit in Dubai. In Dubai, any lawyer anywhere in the world who is qualified to appear in court under their own law is allowed to appear before us. So as long a Malaysian lawyer, advocate and secretary, you get a certificate that you're a lawyer in Malaysia, you're allowed to appear before us in Dubai. So it's very interesting. I had a lawyer last week, an Egyptian lawyer, who's practicing in Sharjah. The other day, I had a lawyer practicing Italy. So that you have this Italian lawyer speaking English with an Italian accent, and the Egyptian lawyer speaking English with an Egyptian accent. Australia, who speaks with an Australian accent. There's a Scottish judge in Scotland who speaks slightly with an Scottish accent. So it's very interesting. It's very, very interesting. This sort of thing, we have experienced quite a lot, because lawyers even appear before us in person before this COVID. Before in person, they come all over the place. Some appear in just a coat and tie. Some bring their own robe. But the custom during the COVID online is just you need to wear a shirt and tie and a robe. By the way, I apologize for my casualness today, because I feel at home I'm more comfortable like this. So I tell my friends, worry about your top, don't worry about your bottom. You may be wearing a sarong or pajamas, that's not my business. You put the top, fine. And as long as you don't stand up at the back there and people can see your bottom, that's fine with me. So now, the speed at which the pandemic spread was so fast that courts around the world had to change the culture of how they hear cases very rapidly. And magistrates were using their own inventions and their own ideas. There was this magistrate somewhere, I can't remember, but I got a picture of him sitting on the police Land Rover, on top of the police Land Rover, wearing his mask, and the accused persons were appearing in front of him. Because he didn't want to go into the lockup or wherever he was that day, they put a table on the Land Rover, and he was hearing the case. This was last year, before all this thing happened. So now we have dividers between, if you have appear in court, you have dividers, what you call, like what you see in Parliament, to appear in court. Then you have to wear the mask. But when you appear as a witness, you have to take off the mask. I had to appear as witness recently on 2 occasions about a corruption case. Then I had to go there, and the judge said, "Can you take off your mask?" Because she wants to see that I'm Zaki sitting in the witness box. So because of the speed that we need, things were modified very quickly. And we were learning from each other. You know, we're learning from each other. Indonesia was learning from England, from Singapore. Singapore was moving very fast. England was moving very fast. So, and people come to accept it. Well, during the pandemic, that is how we go about implementing justice. We cannot do anything else, but that's how we do it. Huh? We cannot insist on personal physical attendance in court. You cannot insist on producing hard copy papers to the judge. The advantage that the DIFC had over other courts was long before the pandemic, we were already hearing cases virtually. Long before 2013, 2012, 2013, I joined in 13. 2013 as a judge and a CJ 2018, I think. So we were already hearing cases, not all, some of the cases virtually. Because sometimes the judges in the Emirati judges who are stationed in Dubai are not able to hear the case for some reason because they got other cases or because they are conflict of interest or something like that. We have to, and then an application for injunction, for example, Mareva injunction, freezing order. So we had to get a judge from England or Australia. And that's what happens. They were hearing cases online already, virtual video recording and things like that. So, so that when we had the pandemic, I think we were among the first. The IFC Courts International was among the first to do virtual hearing. Now, when we talk about justice, you go back to as early as Plato, Aristotle. You read writings about what is justice, and you go to Islam. And 1,400 years ago, have their own system of justice, and that system is carried today under Sharia. If you go through the Islamic system, you will notice the similarities between the Islamic judicial system and what we call the English common law or the civil law. There were so many similarities. And if you talk about principles of justice, natural justice, you have the nemo judex causa suo, which is a Latin term, and then you have each party must be given a right of hearing. These are all found in Islamic principle. So, as long, my view is, as long as each person, each party to the case is given the same rights, then you cannot argue that he has not been given proper justice. Because the only problem sometimes is because of the weaknesses in our internet lines presently, sometimes one party, can't speak properly, we can't hear properly, or the documents is delayed. But we can always take, what shall I say, give them, if one lawyer says, we're quite flexible. The lawyer says, I couldn't get the documents to you. I say, okay, we'll give you another hour or tomorrow to submit the documents to us. One problem we had when we started, I heard one case where the witness was in London. I was sitting in Dubai. Normally, witnesses who appear in court, in Malaysia at least, the practice, in the US is different. They are not allowed to see the earlier witness, to listen to what the earlier witness has said before start speaking. That is our practice. So they are kept in the witness room and they are called out. After they testified, then they are allowed to sit in court. How do you handle this when one is 3,000 miles away in England, in London? And this is a problem of a dispute between husband and wife over a big sum of money, a few million ringgit. And I was sitting in Dubai. So we had to arrange a special room in England where the representative of the other party is in the room to make sure that the witness is not coached what to say. And then another occasion, I happened to be in London. I had to hear a case. So I was sitting in London, hearing a case, Dubai case, with witnesses from all over the place. And lastly, lately, I was in London again. I was hearing a number of cases from London. So the world is getting smaller. Soon, I think, if you're on the moon, you can hear a case from Malaysia. So that's how But today, I read through the rules, rules of what we have, unless I miss, Professor Dr. Quay, unless I miss. There is nothing to require the witnesses to be at a certain location. Technically speaking, the witness can speak from his house, which my wife did 2 weeks ago, or last week, 2 weeks ago, when her father passed away, and she had to get a letter of power of attorney or whatever, and not an executor, to be appointed executor. And she was speaking like this on the phone, and she had to hold her IC like that, and the judge saw her and said, okay, order in terms. So, is that justice? If you go back 50 years ago, somebody will scream and say, no, that's not justice. But now, that is the new way, style of hearing. The other thing, also remember when we introduced electronic filing, a lot of lawyers complained they didn't have the facilities. This was 2018, 2019. So we say, okay, you don't have facilities, you come to the court. But you still have to file electronically from the court. We'll give you a facility in court. So they had to give to the dispatch riders, dispatch clerks, go to the court, and that's where we scan and put the on there. So it's the same here. If lawyers don't have facilities, I think the Bar Council, the profession, must provide facilities for these people. Now, as I said just now, since the witness is not in person appearing before the judge, is it possible for the judge to test the demeanor of the witness? But if you go back pre-electronic time, was the judge really looking at the witness? Because he was spending time writing. He was not really concentrating on the witness. But I can tell you, judging a witness online is going to be more difficult now. Some lawyers, however, argue there is an advantage now because the judge can look into the face of the counsel or of the witnesses directly, as if that person is only 2 feet away from the judge. Whereas when you are sitting in court, the counsel is about 3 meters away, 10 feet or even more, further than that, speaking. So you cannot judge. Witness is about, how far is it? About 10, 15 feet away. 15 feet away. But now, virtually, you are looking at me as if you're, 2 feet away from my face. Wouldn't I be able to judge your demeanor better at this distance? Of course, provided the video is working well and things like that. So, there is the problem today that we have is what you call voice breaking up. By the way, can you all hear me well? Those on Facebook, etc., etc. Of course, MMU has got a very fantastic system there, so we have the best system. But the line coming to my house or the line going to your house may be bad. Sometimes the line comes from the video, the data is coming from California. It crosses under the sea and comes to Kuantan and then goes to. But if one line is broken short, then the picture is bad. Sometimes we complain it's slow. It's not your house, it's along the way. Like, for example, you are driving a car from Kuala Lumpur to Penang. And then along the way, there's a traffic jam. Once a traffic jam, the data is also delayed arriving to the other side. Basically, it's the same. So, but things are moving faster and faster now. Now, I want to also mention about Sabah and Sarawak. When I was a Chief Justice, and at this point I must put on record, I give credit to Tan Sri Richard Maranjun. He already introduced virtual hearing at that time, 2007, 2008, 2009, he already introduced virtual hearing. So that lawyers from Cebu, Sandakan, anywhere do not have to fly into Kuala Lumpur, into Kota Kinabalu to hear the case. He's already using the big screen WhatsApp, and the registrar is sitting. And this is for simple application. Before the registrar, the lawyers don't have to fly. I tried to introduce that system as well for lawyers to do case management on phones. Unfortunately, lawyers don't want to cooperate, so we call it off. Because I learned this when I visited California, San Francisco. The practice in San Francisco was for parties to just call up what you want a date. After all, you just trying to fix a date, how many days the hearing is done on the phone. Instead, lawyers would rather fly all the way to Penang to do it. Maybe they can charge more to their clients, I do not know. So, I've done 45 minutes already. What do you mean? Okay, I think I have to, I'm not supposed to take more than 1 hour. So, this is the world, digital world today. We do a lot of things digital. You go to China, I'm told you don't pay cash now. You use your phone. You don't even use credit card. My son in London carries his phone. I say, have you got the Oyster card? The board? No, everything is in the phone. Got in the phone, touch it. You want the money? Touch it. Everything is digitalized. No more money nowadays. So, what's going to happen to our courts? Digital transmission is going to be, things are going to be moving faster than before. Because, like for myself, I finished my hearing with you, or rather this talk with you. The next moment, I can switch to another screen and do another talk straight away. I was listening to one German professor a few days ago talking about space courts. Very interesting about space court. He talked about 1.5 hours on space court. And then as I was trying to ask him more questions, he said, sorry, I got another lecture. I'm speaking to the French students 10 minutes from now. And I asked, where are you? He was in Frankfurt, University of Germany in Frankfurt. So he was watching Frankfurt, and 10 minutes later, he's moving his screen to speak to somebody in France. And I'm in Kuala Lumpur, and he was speaking, most of the audience was in Dubai, because it was organized by Dubai. But what I'm trying to say is, around the world, and we have a 24-hour seminar. 24-hour seminar. So the unfortunate thing is, if you're on the wrong side of the time zone, you can't see it. So, and you can spend 15 minutes, 20 minutes. I don't have to leave my house at 8 a.m. to attend a meeting. I can go and have a breakfast, have a bath, shower, breakfast, 5 minutes before the meeting. I just press my computer or my iPad, the meeting starts. And then I move to another meeting a few minutes later. So you save money, you save time. But then the question of, is justice being done? I would like you to think about it. And I would like you students to come up and say that you don't agree. You are going to say there is no justice. Why? I want you to say that. Don't come and tell me I agree. Now, signatures. Previously, you had to sign it in front of the Commissioner of Oath. Commissioner of Oath might be in front of you, see you signing. Now, signing is being done on the tablet, on your phone. And then currency, as I said. I was watching a video on cryptocurrency. 1 hour, 2 hour talk from Dubai. What is cryptocurrency? It's so complex. People don't use money now. People just put all our currency into a basket. And then the price, the value of the currency changes by the microseconds. It was changing. Whether the value goes up, the value goes down, changing. And this is done blockchain. Then you have to learn what is blockchain. Now, can blockchain, we already, blockchain and computerization is already influencing courts as to how they make decisions. They are influencing courts, documents are being drafted by computers now. Because you tell the computer what you want, he will draft the agreement for you. You know, you just say, I want to buy a house, value so much, press the button, comes out one agreement. And the next thing is, you post your problem, dear computer, dear Google, whatever it is, I have this problem, I bought a house from somebody, I didn't pay him, and the computer will keep on asking questions as if a lawyer is asking the question. And then, if you're honest with the computer, I say be honest, because you have to be honest with the computer. If you are dishonest in court, the judge will say you are dishonest, I rule against you. But in the computer, maybe, even then, the computer may be able to tell. You're not telling the same story. You said something else 5 minutes ago. So this is my story. Am I guilty or not? The computer will come and say, you are guilty or not guilty. How much of these are going to be used by us as lawyers, by us as judges? Operation, a doctor, and engineers, for professions that rely on scientific calculation, they can rely on the computer. Because they feed the data into the computer will come up and say, these are your options. These are the symptoms of the patient. My blockchain says, I think this is your disease. Oh, you want to build a building? I give you all the foundation, the particulars, and the computer says, I think you have to put this sort of loading before you can build the property. But law is a bit difficult. Why? A lot of law is still judgmental, personal judgmental, evaluation by the judge, and how you argue your case, whether the case is good, your argument is going to be influenced or going to influence the judge or not, whether your argument. So law is a bit, difficult. Just art is a bit difficult to use. But I read recently that they sold art painted by a computer for $1 million or something like that in England. So now computer will start painting, doing drawings for you, and you can sell them to them. So now I believe that we have to keep on sharing our ideas, how to improve. Don't be afraid to learn. At the end of the day, your brain, students, this does not mean that when you go into practice, you put everything into the computer will work down for you. It's not going to be like that, okay? You still got to work hard. You still got to read. You still got to interview your client, because you have to feed garbage in, garbage out. You give the wrong information, you get the wrong. You give the wrong information in, you get the wrong advice. Garbage in, garbage out. So you still have to do your part of the work. If you don't, your client will lose. You cannot put the blame on the computer. just like my wife's lawyer. Oh, I didn't know that. I got so angry with him. Sharia lawyer. Oh, I didn't know how. Go and find out. Don't tell me you do not know. It's not my business to know. You are my lawyer. I pay you to do the advice. You are supposed to go and research and tell me what's how to be done. There you are. I almost sacked that lawyer. That is the attitude. Don't take that attitude. So I think I've covered what 50 minutes. 50 minutes of talking already, and I'm trying to make my lecture as simple as possible, practical, not so much legalistic, because this is to benefit every layer of lawyers. Of course, those who have done civil procedure, those who have been to court will understand what I'm saying better than those who are just starting to do law. But if you have been watching movies, Syria, LA law, whatever it is, you may understand what I'm trying to say. One more thing is, in open court, you can just walk in and sit and watch a hearing. Now, Dr. Quek, you may be able to advise me. Can I just go into somewhere and watch a hearing that's going on online, virtually? I do not know. Dr. Manik, do you know whether you can do that or not? Dr. Manik's there, Dr. Quek. No answer. So, can I just go, Najib's, Dr. Sri Najib's case is hearing. Can I press the document and watch him on the hearing online? We should have that. Once you have that, then the term justice in public is going to be the judge has to behave properly, right questions, because the world is now watching him, how he performs. Just as we now can watch what's going in Parliament, because a court is supposed to be an open court. But you are not allowed to take photographs. You're not. Why? I do not know. You're not supposed to do recording without authority in open court. But now, even in open court, because everything is done, is recorded, recorded. So, what harm is it that if it is open to everybody in the world who wants to watch the trials? I think in US you are allowed to do that. Will we go into that area one day? That I want to hear a case, I just press the case number on the computer. It will direct me to that court and I can watch it. Is that what's going to happen in future? So that's how I see things for the future. I believe we are not going backwards now. We have used virtual hearing, online discussion so much now that it's going to be difficult. And we are in this position because God, the Almighty, Allah, has put us in such a position. We have to do it whether you like it or not. You have to order food online. You must learn digital. Otherwise you don't eat. Otherwise you cannot go things. And remember, this is done within a year, 2 years. We move from pre-virtual hearing to virtual hearing within a few months. And now, to this stage, within 1 year, we are doing something which, if I ask you all 10 years ago, is not possible. But the situation of the world is such that either you do or you're left out. Either you do or you die. So you have to do it. So in my opinion, and opinion of many others, because before I speak to you, I went through a lot of a lot of lectures. I did a bit of reading to before I start delivering this, to give some ideas to me. So I think many of them say most likely we are not going to go backwards. we are going forward. Means saving money, I don't have to travel, saving time. And if you can save money, save time, you have more time for yourself. You have more time for yourself. So leisure business will start making money. Hotels, because you still want physically to be by the seaside. You don't want to go to the seaside online. You want to be physically by the seaside. So that one will continue, maybe, will business. But a lot, online shopping, I don't know whether the malls will be the malls to what it is today in 5-10 years time, because people buy things online now and cheaper. Do you notice that when you buy from Shopee, Lazada, it's cheaper than from buying because you don't have to keep the stock, you don't have to Amazon, you don't have to keep the stock. So back to online. I know this is part of thought. It doesn't touch on virtual hearing, but I think I've covered a lot on the virtual hearing already. And I now open, that's almost 1 hour of my talking to you. I don't know how much of it you can follow, how much you follow, or how much, whether I was talking nonsense or not, I do not know. Now I open the floor to questions. Is there any chat box open?
Firstly, thank you
Yes.
so much, Tun, for the highly informative sharing session. Now, let us move on to the Q&A session for today. I will now pass the floor to Dr. Hasbola to deliver the questions.
I don't see any question on the chat box at all, except for what Dr. Quek has put.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and very good morning to Yang Berbahagia Tun and all participants. As for now, there are 2 questions posted by the participants. Question number 1 by Mr. Lim or Ms. Lim. May I know the virtual hearing is for all parties, that is accused and witnesses, or it is still mandatory for the accused to attend the court hearing physically?
Okay, in Malaysia, as far as criminal cases are concerned, except for summons, traffic summons and simple summons, all cases are tried in person in open court. There is the CPC has not been amended yet. But for simple summons cases, traffic offences, you can log in and plead guilty on the online and pay your fines online, I believe. That's what they do. Dr. Quek, can you correct me if I'm wrong there? Dr. Quek?
Yes.
What do you mean?
Yes.
Do you agree with me, what I said?
Yes.
The practice direction by the CJ, she mentioned about summons in open court only. Summons cases only, not trial. There's no mention of trial. So trial, you still have the person to be in person. Okay. In that respect, I'm trying to express my views. If you want to cross-examine the witness, fine. I mean, I can concede that maybe the witness has to be physically in person in open court. But when it comes to submission by lawyers on appeal, why do you need to be in person in open court, even though it is criminal? I'm not sure about that part of it in the rules. You have to read the rules, that part of it. But hearing, as far as I understand, is still done in person. Yes, next question.
Okay, the last question. Good morning, Yang Berbahagia Tun. I was wondering if you personally believe that virtual hearing is the future, considering all the advantages, but I'm more interested from the angle of the disadvantages. For instance, in abuse or harassment cases, where the abuser may be on the same premises.
Yes. Again, if you read through the instruction by the Chief Justice, there is also many countries also. There are certain criminal cases that perhaps should be done Uh, uh, you see, harassment and sexual abuse cases, even in Malaysia today, we have a special room to put the witness, where the witness will testify online, even today. So if you go to KL and there is a case of harassment or case of rape or case of outrage or modesty, the witness will be in a separate room. He is not put, he or she, normally is a she or young man, is not put to be facing the accused person directly. Because sometimes the accused face, looking at the accused himself, makes the witness very nervous. So we have a special room, the virtual room, where the witness testify from that room. So that sort of cases, perhaps we'll have to continue having in person. I don't know. Or parties may say, okay, I'll go. I want to testify in person. I'm daring enough. I want to spread it. Or yeah, I want to do online. You know, this is a tricky part. My argument just now, whether how would the judge determine the honesty of the witness virtually, or is it better to be in person? Sometimes, if I'm cross-examining, I want to cross-examine in front of the person. That's my experience. I feel my cross-examining the person in person is more effective than, I've never done online, of course. I've never done online. Yeah, I've never done online. So I cannot say, but I feel more comfortable looking at the client and questioning him directly, one after the other. That's my view. Okay, doctor? I'm
Okay,
surprised the students are not coming up with any question.
this is the question from the students.
Yeah, but why is it not in the chat box?
Because we have the form, yang berkaitan. We have the form, so they have to fill up the form and then we read from the responses from the student.
Allah, but why do you make it life so difficult? You're not encouraging questions. You know?
Yes, we also
Okay,
give
go
them
ahead.
the chance. Okay, I think that's
Yeah.
all from me. I thank you very much, yang berkaitan. Back to you, Mr. Fabi.
Okay, there's a question from who? From the advancement of technology, justice has become more Hakimi. Who's Hakimi? Hakimi was asked, oh, now the questions are coming. The first question, there was a question, something just now I missed. Can you go back to?
Yes, Tun. Allow me to assist Tun.
Okay, I got it here. Ang Ji Yi,
Yes.
are the lawyers allowed to object the trial to be heard online? In Malaysia, the judge determines whether you can object, you can request actually. No, in civil cases, you parties or a party can request for the hearing to be done in person. There have been cases where the judge has allowed for cases to be heard in person rather than online. Hafiz Hakimi, Assalamualaikum Tun, Waalaikumsalam. With the advance of technology, justice has become more accessible and more transparent. However, how about the question of legal certainty, which is part of the element of rule of law? Your views, legal certainty. As far as law is concerned, I think it will continue. And go back to the definition of rule of law. I mean, just like I said just now, natural justice, rule of law. I mean, it can change according to circumstances. You cannot stick to the rule of law that was defined in 18th century or 17th century. The rule of law then was different. The rule of law then maybe trial was different type, done different way. Determining the witnesses' demeanor is different, and law develops. As law develops, the definition of rule of law will also change. Ya, lagi habis dah. Muhammad Hafiz. Virtual proceeding is now governed Order 33 AILS. Yeah, I think so. Can't remember the order, but I think so. What does that say, Muhammad Hafiz? What does Order 33A say? Can you appear in person? Can you, Hafizi? Where's Hafizi? Yeah, Muhammad Hafiz.
Yes, Tun.
Yeah. What does it say?
See, this Order 33 was inserted in December 2020. Basically, because if you the case that was referred to you was in 2020 before the amendment. It
Yeah.
allows for parties to consent to proceedings. I think since then there have been a lot of issues arising from virtual proceedings, and I think it's now statutorily provided or that it
Yes.
so it includes witnesses, persons to be in court, and the court may direct that person to appear in court, and
That's
therefore basically you can
The discretion is left to the judge.
Sorry, Tun.
The discretion is left to the judge whether
Yes, correct. The court and the registrar.
virtually or not. Yeah, that's what I understand. So I was quite right there. Although what you are giving to me is supported by Rule 33A of the Rules of the High Court. Thank you very much, Hafiz. Thank you very much.
Welcome, Tun.
Siapa lagi? Tak ada dah. This is no good, man. I like challenges. I like people to pose me questions, then makes me think, makes my brain work also. Good morning, Tun. My question is pertaining to virtual hearings. If this were to become the norm, what would amount of contempt during this hearing? For instance, Zoom bombing has been a common disturbance. So how would the courts deal? Oh gosh, Zoom bombing. That's why, as I say, the law has to be changed, and contempt in Malaysia, under common law, is more like common law. So you can impose those who do the bombing. You go back to the definition of contempt. Contempt is you're trying to, what is the definition of contempt? If you are doing something to try and change the decision, influence the decision, or disturb the hearing, that is contempt of court, or against the judge, contempt against the judge, contempt against the mediator. So I'm definitely sure that if you can track the offender in the Zoom bombing, the offender can be charged for contempt. But the definition of contempt will now change according to the circumstances. Everything has to change. The law has to change. Sri Sarifah, I hope I answer your question. Lagi? Tak ada.
My apologies, Tun. I believe I have a question myself.
Sure, no apologies. No, ask your question.
All right. So, Tun, as good as virtual hearings are, it is subjected to a lot of vulnerabilities, such as connection issues, that can be used as an excuse by certain parties to affect the court's decision.
Betul.
Then, is there a suggestion or method that the court can turn to in order to combat this situation?
Yeah, as I said just now, that the lawyer can say, sorry, I didn't hear what you were saying. Oh, I gave the wrong information. Oh, I didn't hear. That's what I thought you said. I thought you meant something else. So, I mean, these things can happen. But if you put on recording, then it can be quite clear that, whether the witness misheard or he said something else. If the counsel parties are honest in your submission at the close of the case and say, look, this part of it I'm not clear, then the judge can say, okay, what is it that you want to say? What is it that then the judge can determine whether the witness was honestly, or rather the witness honestly did not hear, honestly misheard, honestly misunderstood. So back to the circumstances of the case. I mean, even if the testimony is given in person, things have happened. Things have happened where the witness misunderstood or different dialect, he meant something else. So you're correct. So exactly what this will happen on virtual hearing, and I suspect our internet system will continue to improve better and better. So, inshallah, things will move. Things have to change. Things have to change, whether you like it or not. I mean, previously, when I was, I still do not know how to type fast. Because when I was born, it's handwriting. You all do not know how to write. Everything is there. And you don't know how to spell. Because everything is Google spell. There was a story where MI4 tried a transcript coming from US and then was published. And somebody went and corrected the wording according to the according to the English spelling. So they say, no, this cannot come from America, because Americans spell the word color as COLOR, the English spell COLOUR. Okay, so things like that will happen. And customs, from what do you mean by certain things in Malaysia, and then you interview somebody in even Sabah and Sarawak, the language is different already. And if you go to another part of the world, it's different already. So all these are factors. I mean, this not so much in criminal trials, not so much in maybe more, but in arbitration cases, if you know what arbitration is, they determine the seat. The seat means where is the seating, where the court is going to sit. Now, I don't think it matters. They determine what is the law to be applied. You know, the sitting may be in Dubai, but they apply English law to hear the case in Dubai. And then there's three things: the sitting, the seat, the law to be applied, and there's another third thing. So things change, custom change, you know. So don't know what's going to happen. But I think at the end of the day, go back to the question: is justice delivered? And justice has to change. But not change, it has to keadilan. As long as it's fair, the judge thinks is fair, there's justice, basically. If the judge thinks that, oh, that's not fair, something is wrong, then the court will rule. Particularly in criminal cases, the court will say, no, that's not right. And if you read about court criminal procedure, civil procedure, there are thousands of cases where a appellate court has reversed the decision of the trial court because the trial court has done something which the Court of Appeal thinks is not justice. Prof, you got something for me, Datuk Mazlihan? Dr. Mazlihan, you got something for me, Datuk?
I don't know. This is not my areas. I don't know. But I just want to ask one question, Tun. If we are going online like this, whether one day we can have some sort like the Hague, but it's a world court or something like that.
Yeah, I mean even the World Court today, you go to Hague and hear in person. Later on, you don't have to do that. You can try anybody anywhere around the world. But Americans being what they are, they say you cannot try other people. Okay, let me see here. Ms. Ong Wei Ying, since there is a trend of having virtual hearings, would Tun foresee the trend of having documents-only hearings in court for simple cases, considering there are few arbitration rules provided? Yes, in fact, it's already being done now. I did touch on this. Previously, witness must testify. And again, during my time, we introduced witness statement. That cuts the hearing. Because all the witness got to do is stand up in court and say, this is my statement. You cross-examine me. That's what happened in criminal cases too now. Because otherwise, you spend days recording what the witness is going to say, examination chief. 50, 60 pages, days. Now he hands over, the thing is clear. So after that, you read, and you can be cross-examined on that. written statement. So the in writing, yes, of course, it's already being done now in the courts. Not necessarily in arbitration. Everything is done in courts already. What's your opinion on AI and research processes for lawyers preparing court cases? Will quality? This is, I said just now, if you start punching into your computer to get your answers to your problem, I don't think you need, because at the end of the day, what you feed into the AI, it helps in your research. Previously, when I want to do research, I have to go to the index. They call it the current, what is it called? Index. Index of cases. You go through the index cases, and then you go to the what do you call, the case, and then you go to the footnote, the case, and you go. Today, you print your problem, all the authorities will come out. But you still need to read those authorities. Whether you like it or not, you need to read through those authorities. So you cannot go ahead just say. AI basically is, the way I understand it, AI is, imagine me as a lawyer, my knowledge is so much. But if I put all your knowledge, all of you, the professors, the students, the PhD, put into one box our knowledge, how big is that knowledge? It's 10 times more. And now that knowledge comes into my head, assuming take all your knowledge, put into my head, all the data, put into my head. Then whatever advice I give to you will be more likely to be correct, because I've taken into consideration so many factors. Like if I'm a surgeon, I'm a doctor, I take 20, 30 people into my head. So I look at the disease, my head says, I know this is the disease. Why? Because it's connected to somebody else who has faced that disease before. That is what AI is about. But at the end of the day, as I said to you just now, it helps in your research, but you have to conclude. Because the AI will say, there is a decision this way and a decision this way. Pro and against you. And you stand up and say, you have to judge, you have to convince the judge that decision should be in your favor. Okay, all the questions are coming like nobody's business now. Lavina Pala, what's your opinion? The one I answered already. I agree, courts will be guided by overriding intelligence tests. Muhammad Noor Abdul Rahim, Assalamualaikum. With the use of technology, do you think legal fraternity is in advantage or disadvantage? Fees and allowance, physical appearance, physical, but without coming to court, I think no, it's not. It won't make a difference. It won't make a difference. In fact, because what you're thinking is out-of-pocket expenses, because you don't fly to Penang, you cannot claim airlines, you cannot claim hotel, but there is out-of-pocket expenses. Even if your client pay you, you pay the airline, you pay the hotel, so nothing goes into your pocket. Your fees is different on top of that. 5,000 or 10,000 is different. So whether you hear the case online or whether you hear the case in person, your fees is the same. I think you should be earning more, because you can be moving from one court to the other. I take one court, I move to the other, I move to the other, I move to the other. I can 4, 5, 6, 7 cases per day. Whereas if you take one case in Penang, you cannot take a case in Ipoh, you cannot take a case in Kuala Lumpur. So you should be earning more. Okay, follow-up question, Tun. The credibility of witness be certain if we were to have documents only hearing. Yes, it's going to be difficult if it is just documents only hearing, because it depends on what type of case. Depends on type of case. In arbitration cases, many occasions you look at the documents, you look at the plans, you look at where the statement or the what you call evidence, oral evidence from the witness is not necessary. So that's where parties can agree. Okay, we agree on the facts only. Or even the civil court, we have gone to court to say, my lord, we agree on the facts, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We want the court to judge on those facts. Assuming that's what the facts, and tell me what the law is. That is Order 33 also. They decide on law only. Muhammad Hafiz, where is that? Sorry, all parties appearing must prosecute. Dress etiquette. I think you should dress coat and tie at least. Whether you wear a robe or not, it's not the matter. But not like me I don't think I should go like this. My God, even witnesses, I think should be properly dressed. In views should apply equally. Yes, I agree with you there. Thank you for a wonderful update on digital era. How should law schools be trained students to fit in new? This is something you should learn. You should, I'm telling I got two sons, one doing engineering, one doing just qualified in engineering. The other one is doing economics. I say you have to go digital. The engineering guy, I say you got to learn digital because everything, even engineering now is digital. People make houses using what do you call? The machine just go round and start building the things for you. So whether you like it or not, digital era of lawyering, yes, learn digital. Please learn. It's very, very relevant to you. It's not just investigation. It's so many things. If you are doing a case, engineering, for example, and the client is explaining to you something about digital, you go, you don't understand. How do you explain to the judge? So whether you like or not, you got to need that basic knowledge at least of what digital. I didn't know what digital was. I didn't know what AI was. I read a book called What is Digitalization? What is fintech? I read through to understand. I do not know very much, but I know the basis. If somebody speaks to me, I can understand what he's talking about. The basic knowledge. You have to read, nothing short of reading. You think you qualify from law, you stop reading? No way. You will reading more. Even today, I have 2 or 3 big books I'm reading. I'm reading about the British Parliament. I'm reading about the Queen. I'm reading about Shafi'i Ghazali. 3 books in a row I flick through, and I'm reading my translation, Quran translation also. This I read this also, and I need a teacher to explain to me what is the Quran, what in it. And I have a teacher to teach me all online. The teacher say, "Why didn't you join me earlier?" I say, "Ustad, before I had to go to Shah Alam. That's why I didn't join your class. Now I just turn on the TV, on the day I join your class. That's why." So, this is also God. I'm a Muslim. I believe this is God's way of saying, Zaki, dulu formerly it was difficult for you to go travel. Maybe I forgive you. But now you have virtual. There's no excuse not to learn about Islam now, not to improve your knowledge of what Islam is all about. And I think that applies to any religion. Okay, thank you very much. Over here, Safia 3D. Good morning, Tun. As mentioned, virtual ring may temper the credibility of witness. If I may ask, how should we curb this problem? As time goes, you will find a way to do it. First, you will develop a way to do it. A problem is created, the solution will be found. If you ask me in theory how to do it now, I may not know how to answer. Soon, maybe there is a technology which is invented so that any possibility of fraud or falsification can be identified. The AI will be able to identify that. So my answer is that's how it will be solved. Follow-up question, should we introduce IT and computing subject? Yeah, I think possible. You should have think about it. Discuss with your dean how much IT is relevant in law. I think it's useful. Or you go and learn yourself. It's not something that you need to know deeply, but you must know what is digital. What is AI? People talk. What is AI? Do you know what is AI? You know what is blockchain? You know, you talk about AI is this, but what is AI actually? You know what is blockchain? You must read. Blockchain is where you connect all the information data into one. You go to the bank, they connect you from one person to another person. So, you don't see individually already, you put everything together. So if somebody changes money, everybody will know that this fellow changed money and the value will change. And if you do law, a new decision suddenly comes in the US over a certain pop, it goes to the computer will tell you, hey, this law has been changed because of this thing coming in. That is blockchain. So if you do not know that, when people talk to you, you nganga. Okay? Now, where I put my mouse there, you can see me. Previously, you cannot see because you're so far away from the stage. Good morning. You spoke about how law requires a personal touch. It requires some level of subjective justice, yes, and eye contact, you have mentioned earlier. How do we maintain such personal contact or impact on virtual learning? Any tips for future lawyers who want to excel in the cross-examination? Okay, as I said just now, some judges, some lawyers think that cross-examining on the virtual is better because you can see the witness closely. You can see how his face reacts. There is some views because previously the witness is so far away. As I said to you earlier, I feel differently. I feel more comfortable when the person is in front of me. I can stare into his face, look into his face, stare into his face and question him, Although I don't use rough words, I look at him and when he says something, I sort of use my eyes or my face to sort of threaten, not threaten, but to I've done that before. So that is the cross. So the art of cross-examination as what we know previously may change. You may have to find ways and different ways of technique. You may use your computer to tell, hey, computer, can you tell me whether this witness has contradicted any of his statement? The computer says yes. 50 lines before, and then he said something else. This time he's saying something else. Or you might use virtual to say, his face, is he telling the truth? Is he telling the truth? Can you tell me? The computer says yes, he's not telling the truth. You should read books about in US when they choose jury. They bring about 30, 40, but they need only 12 jury. They study the background of the juror, every individual juror, whether they can be accepted as a member of the jury or not. And then they look at the behavior of the person and to determine whether he should be a juror or not. So now with computer, if I put a camera on the face, the computer may be able to tell you he's not telling the truth. I don't know. You can do that maybe. So, okay, it's 11 o'clock now. No more question, I assume? No more question, I assume?
I have one last question, Tun.
Okay, yes, Pabit.
So, Tun, the marginalized communities have often been perceived as more disadvantageous when it comes to being subjected to the law. Now, with virtual hearings, many of them do not have internet access or good connection in general. Would that mean they are further neglected by the justice system?
No, that is why I say, if such a situation arises, the police, if it is the police, or his lawyer, the profession must provide facilities for these people to appear in a proper place, facilitate a good internet line for the person to be cross-examined, to be questioned or something like that. But to me, with digital, with recording, they are more protected. Because now cross-examining, questioning by police can be required to be recorded. So that the police will also not abuse or use force to extract information from the person if you're thinking of the police lah. If you're thinking about civil procedure, yeah, you have to you go to the land office to do a transaction. The land office must provide facilities for the person. But whatever you say lah, I can tell you this. I mean, I've been reading books, I've been reading cases, I don't deny lah that people who are financially better off can win the case easy to get. Although the judges say we don't want to do this, inevitably it happens. Inevitably, not all cases, maybe a small proportion, 1%, 2%. Especially if I'm not talking about Malaysia, I'm talking about US, where the big companies can employ 10 lawyers to be arguing the case for him, whereas the small guy can afford one young lawyer somewhere. You know, whether that is justice or not, I do not know. But whatever it is, ladies and gentlemen, I want to, the boys and girls, I don't want to address you as boys and girls now. I want to address you, ladies and gentlemen, that soon you become lawyers, you'll be called gentlemen. While you are in student, as a student in universities, you are still boys and girls, I assume. I hope you have benefited from the last 1.5 hours. Is it 1.5 hours? No, 1.5 hours. Yeah, 1.5 hours of talk, discussion, and I hope whatever I said today helps you when you start going to practice what you want to do, how you want to do. I hope all that will contribute a bit. I didn't speak to you about the law because I leave that to your lecturers to do. I was discussing with you the practical side of utilization of the law. That's what I speak to you about. And I hope you benefit from that, honestly. So to the lecturers and to the students, and of course, Datuk Mazliham, not forgetting you, you are the man behind all this. I always enjoy talking to students. I always like, especially in person, I like to see them, talk to them, and I like to, after the event, sit down, discuss with them, listen to what they have, ideas, because I learn a lot from the students themselves. By the students putting questions to me, it starts making me think. So it's also to my advantage. So thank you very much indeed, and all the best to you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of the webinar today. We would like to take this opportunity to once again thank Yang Amat Berbahagia Tun Dato' Seri Zaki Tun Asmi for taking the time to share his valuable insights on this topic. I'm sure everyone has greatly benefited from the session this morning. Participants in the Google Meet, kindly do stay back for a moment for a short photo taking session with our esteemed speaker for today.
Okay. Only the Google Meet. What about the Facebook people? Cannot get.
Unfortunately, they can't. Participants, we would like to kindly request that all participants switch on their camera.
How many? 16 of us only. Some of them, their pictures are out. Then I say, where is Hasbullah punya picture? Come out in person. Don't put your what do you call? Still photograph there. Okay.
Participants, we'd like to kindly request that all participants switch on their cameras for a short photo taking session. Okay, thank you so much for your cooperation, participants. We'll be taking the photo in 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, Put on your biggest smile. 1. Thank you, participants. Another one. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Wonderful. Thank you, participants.
Where's my virtual gift? You normally give me gifts when I go and speak. I need a virtual gift from you. No, just joking. Below I go, they must give me something, you know. So no lunch, no gift. So just joking. When the time is open, I like to visit your campus again. And visit the campus in Malacca and to meet all the students in person. When do you expect to allow students to come in physically again?
We have a new campus reboot plan just announced last week. Students are allowed to come back starting from 1st of October, but will be gradually. We only allowed those with complete vaccine to come back. Complete 2 doses of vaccine to come back.
And then
all classes will remain virtual until end of this trimester, but all students are allowed to apply to come back and allowed to use all the facilities in the campus.
Okay, your books in the libraries, like your library, yeah? How much of those books are available online? Research apa semua?
I don't know, maybe Dr. Quek.
Dr. Quek, how your research? Law, I'm not worried so much because there are quite a lot. I'm talking about engineering, other subjects. Law, I think we can do research for students' purposes, for your undergrads purposes. There's more than enough online. I don't know, those who are doing PhD, I don't know. Yeah.
The library are now what we call digital library. Tun Siti Hasmah Digital Library. So it's mainly on digital platform. Tun. Of course, for engineering, there's a lot of journals. We subscribe a lot of journals like Scopus, ISIs for student reference. For law, I'm not sure which reference that they subscribe.
We have databases for law. We have databases accessible from home, and there are some e-books also available. But I think that the databases, they actually can access not only the local, legislation journals, all that, but also the overseas journals.
Hey, doctor, you must give me your what do you call? Your password and to access, because sometimes I need to do research at home also.
Right. I believe that one need to be given by university.
Give me one address as a student or something then.
Right. Okay. Basically, MMU account. Right. Okay. For Tun, so that I can access our library.
Yes, please. Thank you very much. So with that, thank you very much. All the best to you.
Tun. Just would like to answer Miss Gita question just now on whether we should introduce IT or not in the program. We have now a program, a transformation program that we call Build Your Own Curriculum. But I'm not sure if in Faculty of Law they allow the students to do this. But in MMU right now, we actually try to allocate 12 credits as optional credits. So students actually can opt to choose other credits offered by other faculties. So in this case, if this is allowable at the Faculty of Law, then students can choose this 12 credits from other faculties. They can take the subject offered by the computing faculty, for example, faculty of computing and intelligence and informatics. They can also take the subject from the Faculty of Management. I believe the lawyers also should need to learn some management skill and so on. So this is available. I don't know whether Dr. Craig, if this is made available in FOL or not.
Right. Okay. In trimester 1, in fact, we already allowed students to take one of the elective to be free elective, and we have students already starting taking the courses from free elective courses from Faculty of Business.
So maybe after this session with Tun, some of the students might want to take the IT courses.
Yeah, of course. I think that's a good idea. Because that's what you should do. Learn a bit lah. So okay, Ms. Quek, sorry, Dr. Quek, the COVID-19 webinar, you got it already?
Yes, I will share with them.
This one.
All right, yeah, correct.
You just share lah, those who are interested.
Yeah,
But
sure.
we collect. I don't know where the money goes. The money goes, I know, to Legal Plus, but the others I do not know what. But they charge, I think, 100. But for students, 50. 100 per pax. Students, pupils in chambers, and students 50 ringgit. When is it? On October, 8th of October. So, okay, gentlemen, Dato' Dato' President,
Thank you very much.
All the best to you.
Thank you very much.
Assalamualaikum. Assalamualaikum.